The mind has a dark side. Most fear it. Few understand it. Dark Mind Insights. Master the unseen.
Think of the nicest person you know. The one who always says yes. The one who bends over backwards, swallows their frustration, and constantly molds themselves to make sure everyone else in the room is comfortable. The one who will apologize even when someone else bumps into them. Now, ask yourself an uncomfortable question. Do people deeply respect them, or do people just use them? Take a moment to think about your own life. Think about the times you drove home in silence, feeling a heavy, dark knot of resentment in your chest because you just agreed to do something you absolutely did not want to do. You smiled, you nodded, you said, "No problem at all," while your internal voice was screaming, "Please just leave me alone." We are taught from childhood that being nice is the ultimate virtue. We are conditioned by our parents, by our schools, and by society that if you give enough, sacrifice enough, and accommodate enough, you will be rewarded. We are told that selflessness is the currency that buys love, loyalty, and respect. But if you're watching this, you've probably lived long enough to realize the harsh, unspoken truth of human nature. The more you give, the less they seem to value it. The more available you are, the more your time is taken for granted. The nicer you are, the more invisible you become. Today, we're going to look at the deep, sometimes uncomfortable psychology of being too nice. We aren't going to talk about becoming cold, toxic, or manipulative. There is already enough of that on the internet. We are not talking about alpha mentalities or treating people poorly to gain power. We are going to talk about human behavior. We are going to explore why abandoning yourself to please others destroys the one thing you need to survive, thrive, and be loved in human relationships: respect. Act 1. The illusion of nice and the root of pleasing. To understand why being too nice kills respect, we have to strip away the romanticized idea of what being nice actually is. True kindness is a gift. It is an active choice made from a place of abundance and security. It requires immense strength. But being too nice, chronic people-pleasing, that is rarely about kindness. Psychologically speaking, it is almost always about fear. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear that if you show people who you truly are, with all your limits, your boundaries, and your preferences, they will leave you. Psychologists often refer to this as the fawn trauma response. You've heard of fight, flight, or freeze, but fawning is the fourth response. It happens when a person perceives a threat, like someone's disappointment or anger, and immediately moves to pacify that threat by abandoning their own needs and becoming entirely compliant. You become a chameleon, changing your colors to match whatever the person in front of you needs you to be, just to keep the peace. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine a guy named Mark at the office. Mark is the ultimate nice guy. He takes on everyone's extra work. He stays late without complaining. When his ideas are blatantly stolen by a colleague in a meeting, he smiles nervously and says, "It's okay, we're a team. Doesn't matter who gets the credit." Mark genuinely thinks he is building social capital. His internal logic is, if I never cause a problem and I always make everyone's life easier, my boss and my peers will eventually look at me and say, "Wow, Mark is incredibly selfless and valuable. Let's promote him. Let's respect him." But we all know how Mark's story ends. That's not what happens. Instead, Mark becomes the baseline. His sacrifices are no longer seen as favors, they become baseline expectations. When he stays until 8 p.m., it's no longer Mark going above and beyond, it's just what Mark does. When promotions come around, leadership doesn't look at Mark. They look at the person who sets boundaries, the person who confidently pitches their ideas and protects their time. Why? Because subconsciously, human beings assign value to things that are guarded. Think of it like a house. If a house leaves its front door wide open all day and night with a sign that says, "Come in, take whatever you need," people will stop treating it like a private, respected home. They will start treating it like a public walkway. They will track mud on the carpet. They won't wipe their feet. They will take the food from the fridge and leave the wrappers on the floor. When you have no boundaries, people do not look at you and see a saint. Subconsciously, they see you as someone who lacks self-worth. And human nature dictates a very brutal reality. We cannot respect someone who does not respect themselves. Act 2. The subconscious death of respect. Let's shift away from the workplace and look at your personal life. Think about your friendships, your family dynamics, or your romantic relationships. Have you ever agreed to go out to a dinner you couldn't afford just to keep the peace? Have you ever sat on the phone for 2 hours listening to a friend complain about the same problem for the 100th time while your own life was falling apart and you desperately needed sleep? Have you ever bitten your tongue when a romantic partner made a subtle, disrespectful joke at your expense, telling yourself, "It's not worth starting an argument over"? In those moments, you thought you were preserving the relationship. You thought you were being the bigger person. But in the psychological undercurrent of that interaction, you just sent a very clear, very dangerous subconscious message to the other person. You told them, "My comfort is secondary to yours. You can treat me poorly and I will stay. You can disrespect my time and I will still be here." And the moment someone realizes they can lose your respect without losing your presence, the dynamic is permanently broken. This is not because people are inherently evil or malicious. Most people who cross your boundaries aren't sitting in a dark room scheming about how to ruin your life. It happens because human behavior operates on the subconscious laws of friction and resistance. We respect the ocean because of its raw, untamed power. We respect a heavy weight at the gym because it requires intense effort to lift. We respect a wild animal because it commands distance. When you present zero friction in your relationships, when you agree with every opinion, tolerate every mood swing, and absorb everyone's bad days without a word of protest, you become weightless. You become a shadow. And you cannot respect a shadow. When you are too nice, you're essentially robbing the other person of the opportunity to know the real you. You are giving them a curated, sanitized, flat version of yourself that is designed purely for their digestion. You become an echo chamber. If they say they love a certain movie, you suddenly love it too. If they want Italian food, suddenly you're craving pasta, even if you hate it. Imagine a woman named Emma. Emma starts dating James. James loves rock climbing, indie movies, and staying up late. Emma prefers reading, quiet mornings, and hates heights. But Emma wants James to like her, so she suppresses herself. She buys climbing gear. She stays up until 2 a.m. She stops talking about her favorite books. For a few months, it seems perfect. But eventually, James starts to pull away. He loses interest. He loses attraction. Why? Because he isn't dating a human being with her own soul, her own opinions, and her own spine. He feels like he is dating a mirror. There is no friction, no pushback, no spark. Deep down, people can feel it when you aren't being real. They can feel the lack of authenticity in your niceness. They intuitively sense that your constant accommodation is actually a defense mechanism to avoid being disliked, rather than a genuine expression of love. And that lack of authenticity breeds a deep, unspoken loss of respect. Act 3. The resentment trap and covert contracts. Now, we have to address the darkest part of being too nice. This is the part most people-pleasers do not want to admit, but it is the most vital step in reclaiming your self-respect. being too nice doesn't just invite other people to take advantage of you. It actually turns you into someone who is silently resentful, passive-aggressive, and incredibly difficult to be around. Psychologists call this the mechanism of covert contracts. A covert contract is a secret, unspoken agreement that the nice person makes in their own head without ever telling the other person. It sounds like this. If I am perfectly accommodating, you will never leave me. If I do all your chores without you asking, you will give me affection. If I suppress my needs to make you happy, you are obligated to anticipate my needs and make me happy. But here is the problem with covert contracts. The other person has no idea they signed one. So you give and you give and you give. You exhaust yourself making sure your partner, your friends, and your boss are completely catered to. And then one day you need something. You are tired, or you are sad, or you need a favor. But because you have spent years pretending to be an emotionless superhero who never needs anything, nobody steps up to help you. When this happens, the nice person doesn't usually express their hurt directly, because remember, they are terrified of conflict. Instead, they become deeply resentful. They start sighing loudly around the house. They slam cupboards. They give the silent treatment. When asked what's wrong, they say nothing, I'm fine, but their energy is thick with anger. They begin to view themselves as a martyr. They tell themselves stories like, I do everything for everyone and nobody appreciates me. People are so selfish. But the brutal truth is, people aren't necessarily selfish. You just trained them to believe that you didn't have any needs. You trained them to use you. When you operate on covert contracts, your niceness becomes manipulative. You aren't giving out of the goodness of your heart. You are giving because you are trying to buy a specific reaction. You are trying to buy validation. You are trying to control how other people see you. And when people sense that your niceness comes with strings attached, even invisible emotional strings, they don't feel grateful. They feel smothered. They feel manipulated. And inevitably, they lose respect for you. Respect is built on open, honest, and sometimes difficult communication. It is built on looking someone in the eye and saying, I am upset that you did this, or I need your help today. When you hide behind a wall of fake smiles and passive aggression, you are denying people the chance to respect the real you. Act 4. The shift from nice to genuine. So, how do we fix this? What is the alternative to being the chronic people pleaser? Does this mean you need to swing completely to the other extreme? Do you start being a jerk? Do you start dominating people, acting selfishly and pretending you don't care about anyone's feelings? Absolutely not. That is just the other side of the same insecure coin. People who are aggressive and overly dominant are just as terrified of vulnerability as people who are overly nice. The antidote to being too nice isn't cruelty. The antidote is authenticity. You must transition from being nice to being kind, and there is a massive, life-altering psychological difference between the two. A nice person tells you what you want to hear to avoid a fight, even if it's a lie. A kind person tells you the truth with empathy and compassion, even if it causes a temporary fracture in the relationship. A nice person gives you their last $20 when they can't afford rent, and then secretly resents you for taking it. A kind person looks at you and says, I can't lend you money right now because things are tight for me, but I will sit down and help you look over your budget. A nice person stays at a party for 3 hours longer than they want to, slowly growing miserable and bitter. A kind person hugs the host, says, I had a wonderful time, but I need to get home to rest, and leaves feeling energized. Kindness requires boundaries. Kindness requires you to say, I love you, I care about you, but I will not set myself on fire just to keep you warm. To build respect, both from the people around you and infinitely more importantly from yourself, you have to get deeply comfortable with a two-letter word: no. You have to get comfortable with the profound silence that follows when you decline a request. You have to get comfortable with the reality that standing up for yourself is going to disappoint people. Let me say that again because it is the most important part of this journey. You must learn to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing others. When you first stop being too nice, your brain is going to panic. The first time you tell your boss, "I can't take on that project, my plate is full," or the first time you tell a friend, "I don't have the emotional bandwidth to talk about this tonight," you are going to feel a massive wave of guilt. Your heart will race. Your mind will tell you, "They hate you now. You ruined it. You are a bad person. Quickly, call them back and apologize." You have to understand that this guilt does not mean you did something wrong. This guilt is simply an emotional withdrawal symptom. Your brain is withdrawing from the drug of people-pleasing. It is a biological reaction to breaking an old habit. You have to sit with that guilt. Let it wash over you. Breathe through it. Do not text them to apologize. Do not backpedal. Hold your ground. Over time, that guilt will fade, and it will be replaced by something incredibly powerful, a deep, unshakable sense of self-respect. The conclusion. As you make this shift, you need to be prepared for the fallout. When you stop being too nice and start setting boundaries, some people are going to get angry. Some people are going to call you selfish. Some people might even walk away from you entirely. Let them. The people who walk away because you started setting healthy boundaries were never your friends to begin with. They were opportunists. Your niceness was simply the currency you were paying to rent their company. They didn't love you. They loved how useful you were to them. Losing them is not a loss. It is the clearing of toxic debris from your life. When you drop the mask of the chronic people-pleaser, a beautiful, quiet revolution happens in your life. Your circle might get smaller. The invitations might change. You might spend a little more time alone at first. But the people who remain, the new people who enter your life, they are there for you. They respect your time because you respect your time. They value your energy because you treat your energy like it is sacred. They ask for your opinion because they know you will actually tell them the truth rather than just echoing back what they want to hear. Stop trying to buy love by abandoning yourself. Stop trying to trade your self-respect for the illusion of peace. Your thoughts have value. Your time is finite and precious. Your energy is sacred. You were not put on this earth to be a background character in everyone else's movie, silently managing their moods while your own life passes you by. The front door to your life is yours to close. Lock it when you need to. Choose carefully who you let in. The moment you become willing to be disliked for who you truly are is the exact moment you become truly respectable. Take a deep breath. Look at your life right now. Where are you bleeding energy? Who are you pretending for? Tomorrow is a new day. You have the power to change the dynamic. If this message resonated with you, I want you to take a moment and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever lost yourself trying to please someone else? Have you ever felt that deep resentment after saying yes when you wanted to say no? Share your story below. Writing it out is often the first step to letting it go. Take care of yourself, guard your time, and I'll see you in the next video.